Do-do. Hi guys, how's everyone? All right guys, so I want to try and read, first of all, I want to try and read chapter 4 of this book before the kids attacked me. It was so cute this morning. We had a lovely live. I was going to read this book. I'm reading this book as a thank you to Nancy. Nancy wants me to read this book, and I think we should just read it, and then we can all just decide for ourselves how we feel about this book. I know this book upsets some people. I'm just going to read it, and we'll just see how we go. Yeah. So, morning, defending Elvis Presley. Fans want the truth. Hopefully, we've got a good hour so we can go through this. I always say this. Joe at Rare Elvis Photos has done an amazing job covering this book. Fantastic job. He's obviously interviewed Dari Matera, the author, quite a few times. He's also had a quite long conversation with Desiree. I get the feeling that he does believe it, but Joe always says, you guys decide. I'm not going to make you decide. You guys decide. He always does that. So I think that's important, that he allows his subscribers, let me just put an Elvis thing on. I think it's important that he allows his subscribers to make their own minds up, and he does such a good job of it. So I highly recommend Elvis Rare Photos and the work that he's put into getting this book out there so that people can discuss it. He has brought this book back to life. Yeah, he has. His daily reading sessions with the many books that he does, but with this one has got everyone talking about this book. So yeah, and it is the wind in England, guys, is just unbelievable. So you guys in England, whoa, like, I hope you're okay. It's like, I didn't sleep. I was up all night. I did join Shauna's show last night, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Shauna's show is always great. Highly recommend Tenderly Loving Elvis. She always does a great show. So I don't want to do too much talking because I'm worried the kids are going to sabotage our session. So we're going to read chapter 4. Now, I personally don't think this book does any harm to Elvis. I just think it's an interesting topic. It's a great thing for Team Elvis to discuss. And whether you believe it or not, or whether it's just an interesting thing to listen to, whether it's a great story or not, or if it's truth, it doesn't really matter to me. What matters is that we are just discussing it, and you guys can think how you feel without me trying to change your mind about anything. You know my views on it, guys. Yeah, I know, Linda, it's crazy. The winds here are crazy, but so far, now I do have buildings along the seafront. There's a possibility there's damage. I don't know, but no, I think in England today, everyone is staying home. It's just the winds are too dangerous, too dangerous. So, but thank you for asking, Linda. Okay, so I did go on Shauna's show last night, which was brilliant. And so always love to join Shauna. She was very kind to me. Okay. All right, I'm going to start again. So it's chapter 4, 1953, November. I tried to put Elvis out of my mind, but he called at the store and reminded me of my promise to go to Memphis. Despite my circumstances, I knew I could get away. I told my mother that I had to go on a short trip to promote the Mr. Music show and again stay with Mary. She readily agreed to take care of Deborah and Melody. Being able to get away so easily did little to relieve my conscience. I hated having to lie to anybody, especially my mother, but I had to do something to change my life. The situation was growing worse. The man had returned briefly. His actions followed the usual pattern. He appeared unannounced for whatever. Let's have a look. He appeared unannounced from wherever it was that he had gone. The first 2 nights, he'd drink and then rape me. When he had satisfied his sexual craving, he became violent and abusive. Shortly before leaving, he knocked me around to make sure I stayed in line while he was away. As I matured, I became less passive and started to rebel, which only led to more severe beatings. Part of his violence was fueled by his knowledge. Oh my God, that wind. Oh my God. Sorry, guys, that was like a massive gust. Let me just turn the battery on my laptop before it turns off. Right. Nearly turned off there. Right, okay. Oops. Okay, I hope you got your coffee, guys. Oh, thank you, Mando. That's very kind. Thank you. Someone's bought us a coffee. Thank you so much, guys. Anyone that buys me a coffee, it's very appreciated. Very, very, very kind. Thank you. Right. So, where we are. So, when he had satisfied his sexual craving, he became violent and abusive. Shortly before leaving, he knocked me around to make sure that I'd stayed in line while he was away. And as I matured, I became less passive and started to rebel, which only led to more severe beatings. Part of his violence was fueled by his knowledge that I still despised him. The years had not tempered my hatred, nor had the children bonded us into a family. I never learned to love him, and my relatives promised and never gave up the hope that somehow I could escape. The older I became, the more determined I was to carry out that escape. Going to Memphis was the boldest move yet. While planning for a trip, I had to pay strict attention to maintaining my composure. The anticipation lifted my spirits, but it couldn't show. Mrs. Fowler was still keeping watch. I caught myself singing a few times and stopped so as not to arouse suspicion. I could let my feelings show only when I was alone. I managed to get away for a short trip and the day before leaving. So my memory, because we read this a while ago, guys, my memory is that she's almost in a prison. The man she's with is seriously abusing her, but he has got someone in place to keep an eye on her. Yeah. So, but I read this a few weeks ago, so I've sort of forgotten it a bit. All right, so you've got lightning in Sydney. Hi, Luann. Oh, thank you. I tell you what, I can't even describe it. It is this in my home. It's all nice and cozy, but out the side my window is unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's like I could sort of show. Shall I show you something, guys? I'll show you. I'll try and quickly show you how it looks in my garden because of the wind. Right. So you can see everything is blown everywhere. The trampoline, luckily, is pushed up against a tree, so it can't go into next door's garden. So I don't know. Can you see the trees blowing around? It's hard to. You can't really see it that well, but it is. It's horrific. It's horrific. You can't go outside. You definitely cannot go outside, guys. So the kids are all happy. The kids are in the lounge watching a film on Disney. So, but it's just all the trees are doing that. It's crazy, crazy. But in the house, it's lovely. Okay, so right. So feeling frivolous, I bought a floor-length batiste cotton gown. It was cream colored with long puff sleeves, snaps down the front, and a fitted bodice. I had never owned anything so sheer. Buying it made me feel young. I was wary of having to be an adult. I wasn't an adult. I had just turned 17. I wasn't like other 17-year-olds. I knew that, but I wasn't 11 anymore either. There would be no more hiding in the closet. The next day, I drove to Monroe Airport and left my car. My neighbor, Elizabeth DeVille, taught me how to drive a car before. The man purchased a dark burgundy two-door convertible with a black rag top and designated it for emergencies only. Like if the children got sick and needed to be rushed to hospital, I decided this was an emergency. I took a plane because my nerves were too frazzled to deal with the long train ride. The plane was bumpy, but the trip was short. As I waited for my bags at the Memphis airport, another transformation occurred. The anger I drew upon to get there dissolved was replaced by insecurity. Did Elvis really like me? The thoughts were interrupted by a tap on my shoulder. I'm guessing Elvis is gonna. So you scare me, I said, catching my breath. Something else frightened me. Elvis wasn't wearing the usual baggy gabardine pants. I don't know what gabardine pants are. And suit jacket. He wore tight black pants and a bright cowboy shirt unbuttoned halfway down his chest. He looked wild, untamed, and incredibly sexy. He wanted to take off somewhere right away, but I insisted on freshening up at a hotel first. We got into Elvis's car and headed for the city. Along the way, he described the conventional roadside sights with such zeal, I was uncertain whether he keyed up by my visit or just devoted to his hometown. Elvis pulled up to the hotel and said he'd be back in an hour. He told me to bring my sleeping clothes and mentioned something about camping. I was wary of his suggestion. He sensed my misgivings and smiled. He gave a light-hearted kiss and headed back to his car. He stopped, then spun around. I have a surprise for you. He flashed a mischievous grin and drove away. I rushed to get ready. The promise of a surprise combined with his boyishness excited and comforted me. Heeding his suggestion to dress casually, I slipped on a pair of white slacks and a light blue blouse. Now, I say this, guys, there's a lot of detail in all of this, and I question that. And the answer I got back was because she kept a diary. So there's a diary that supposedly has all these details. And the diary does look like it's like 50 years old. Now, we don't know where the diary is. Does Desiree have the diary? I don't know. This is one of the questions I ask about the diary. Okay. I remembered his comment about sleeping clothes and ease my new robe from the suitcase. I folded it, laid it inside a small travel bag, and I zipped the top. The phone rang. Are you ready? It hasn't been an hour. Sure it has. Memphis time. I can't wait. I was relieved that he had called from downstairs and had not appeared at my door. That showed respect. I lingered only a few more minutes before descending. Elvis immediately escorted me to his car. He was subdued as we drove towards the outskirts of the town. It was late afternoon and the drive was pleasant. I quietly admired the arching hillside and contrasting colors of the trees and vegetation. I also noticed that the back seat was covered with bags and a box. Elvis, what are we going? Where are we going? She's surprised, he repeated. You got to wait for the surprise. I laughed as we continued deeper into the rolling countryside. The road began to wind. I was afraid that he was going to take me to a camp or cabin where there could be other people. I didn't want to be around anyone else, not with my secret. Finally, he slowed down, pulled off the road, stopped at the foot of a grassy hill. He sprung from the car and dashed around to my side. He opened the door and took my hand. I started to say something, but he put his finger to his lips and went, shh, shh. He didn't say a word until we reached the top of the hill. This is the surprise, my gift to you. Elvis pointed to a breathtaking sunset. This is your gift, he repeated. And you know what? Only God can paint a sunset. Each one is an original. This one is yours, Lucy. Very romantic, guys. Very romantic. Yeah, it was on, definitely on Rare Elvis Photos last night, guys. I watched it. I watched it. So, Linda, I believe she had a date with Elvis, but having a secret child to him is a different story. That's fair enough. Yeah, Linda, that's fair enough. Hi, Josie. Hi, Ayisa. Hi, Luann. Hi, Jean. Yeah, right. So, where were we? Got it. Well, so come on. So the surprise was the sunset. Here we go. He pulled me to him and kissed me. Instead of frightening me, the kiss drained my fear. I didn't care about anything else. We began to walk along the hill, enjoying the view of the scarlet and golden sky before us. I felt clean and untouched. All the nightmares of the past appeared to be little more than a bad dream. This was what love was supposed to be. Lucy, are you happy? Elvis said. I stretched up on my toes and kissed him. That was my answer. The devilish glint returned to his eyes. You know something, my girl has to run for her supper. He took off in a sprint. I kept in step. We laughed the whole way back to the car. He opened the door, reached for the box and bags in the back seat, dramatically emphasizing every move. He spread out a red blanket and dotted it with plates. Elvis was playing moment to the hilt. You are to serve the feast, he said, because you are my lady in waiting. I inspected the first bag and found ham sandwiches, grapes, chips, deviled eggs. Would you like some wine? He offered. What makes you think I want wine? I replied with mock annoyance. Well, you're French, aren't you? Who ever heard of a Frenchman not liking wine? When he finished the main course, he reached into the box and pulled out a bag of cherries. We spent the next half hour eating cherries and silently enjoying the deepening colors of the sky. I'm glad you came, Lucy. Me too. But why did you bring me here? Is this where you bring all your girls? What girls? He explained. I don't have any girls. I thought you were my girl. I just wondered how you found this place. Have you been here before? He grew serious. One day I was upset about not doing anything with my life. I just drove into the hills and ended up here. I thought it was the most beautiful place in the world. I came here to talk, to pray. He said, I feel closer to God here. I was surprised. I had depended on God so much in my life. Sometimes he was my only hope. Knowing Elvis shared my faith made me believe that God approved of our being together. Okay, guys. So, what feeling are you getting? When I'm reading this, guys, are you getting a sense for the truth, a sense that it's a story, or is it a bit too soon to decide? I always wanted to bring someone here with me, he continued, but it had to be someone special. I could never find the right person. I thought I would always have to come here alone. Now I found you. He squeezed my hand, secure that he had filled one longing in his life. He switched to another, and the one that remained unfulfilled. I was glad that he continued talking about himself. I didn't want the conversation to shift to me. I met some musicians. We seem to have a good mix. They can help me, and I can help them. If we work together, we might have a chance. I recorded something already. Nothing really, just a couple of songs for my mama. I'm going to record some more soon. Now that school's out of the way. No, let's have a look. Now that school's out of the way, I have more time. You wait, Lucy. In a year, you'll be real proud of me. So There's Elvis dreaming of the future. So I think this section, oh my God, that wind. So I think this section is Desiree, the author. Just keeping an eye on that furniture, guys. Right. The musician Elvis referred to were probably Scotty Moore and Bill Black. They were later comprised. So I think this is Dairy Matera. I think this is the author. I think this small section. The musician Elvis referred to were probably Scotty Moore and Bill Black. They were later comprised the nucleus of his band. Elvis was not being modest about his recordings. Anybody who had $4 could make a record at Memphis Recording Service, a sideline for Sam Phillips, Sun Records Company. According to the book, The Boy Who Dared to Rock, Elvis paid $4 and recorded his first two songs, My Happiness and That's When Your Heartache Begins, in 1953, which is true, yeah, guys? Some accounts place the date a few months earlier. They were put directly on acetate. Elvis left with only a copy. In January 1954, he paid another $4 and made a second set, A Casual Love Affair and I'll Never Stand in Your Way. And again, he had the only copy. I was impressed. Right, so I think now we're back to the story, guys. Right. I hope you got your coffee, guys. Right, where are we? Right, we're starting back on the story, yeah? I was impressed with the motivations behind his determination. His quest for success appeared to be unselfish. He wanted only to please others and to be in a position to help those less fortunate. I was especially heartened by the way that he respected his parents. I'm going to make it, Lucy. You believe me. You don't you? You believe me, don't you? I know you're going to make it. You're going to be sensational. You have something special. So obviously in this part of the book, you hear Elvis's self-belief. You see Lucy completely can see that he's just fantastic, and he's gonna make it because he's something special. Yeah. Okay. And then Elvis says, "Oh, you really think so? You're very special to me. And when you're on stage to everyone, I know how much this means to you. I've been praying for you every night. God is listening. He's always listening." Elvis was moved by my faith in him. "I want you to be part of it, Lucy. Help me." His words jarred me out of my dreamy fog. I couldn't be part of anything. The only future I saw was a miserable attempt to lead a double life, one that relied upon deception at both ends. I thought of telling Elvis the truth, but couldn't face losing him. Not yet. I needed these moments more than he realized. I wanted to change the subject, but he was staring at me, waiting for an answer. I had to say something. "I want to be part of your life, but please, you must listen to me," I said. "Promise me that you'll give me time. It has nothing to do with the way I feel. You must always promise never, never, never to talk about us to anyone. What we have is so special. It must remain that way until we're ready to announce it. Please promise me, just until we know and everything works out." He seems confused by my plea and suspected it had to do with my family not accepting him because he was poor. He knew that most grown-ups frowned on his unusual clothes and long hair. He misread my French accent and Boston education as a sign I came from an upper crust family, an upper class family, even though I had told him after my father died we became poor. I was going to tell him that my family wasn't the problem, but but I stopped before I said anything. If he feared my relatives, he wouldn't press to come to my home. Sometimes I get a feeling you're going to disappear, he said, that I'll never have you, that our moments together are so great because they aren't going to be many. My silence confirmed his suspicions. He looked at me as if I was going to vanish in a second. I had a feeling things are going to start moving very fast soon, he said. I don't want the important things to get left behind. That's why I have to tell you how much I love you. I can't let it wait. For a moment, he couldn't find the right words to continue. And then he said, stay here with me for a while. We'll just sit and talk. I have so much I want to say. I want to be with you. Hey, how about if we camp here tonight instead of going back to the hotel? I knew that was his way of hanging on, but the request made me nervous. I had never willingly allowed a man to touch me. Incredibly, as it seemed, in my mind, I was still a virgin in my mind. Did you bring something to sleep in? He said. I nodded. Why don't you change? I really shouldn't. I said, but my heart said different. I excused myself and walked down the hill to the car. I found a small overnight bag and took out the gown I purchased the day before. It was long and soft and trimmed with lace. It wasn't really sexy, just feminine. I climbed into the car, slipped off my blouse and slacks and put it on. I could see the silhouette of Elvis's frame against the dying light. As I walked up the hill, he was like a magnet pulling me nearer. He turned, saw me approaching and extended his hand. When we touched, a soft breeze gently blew through my hair and pushed my gown close to my body. He embraced me with a single arm, the other hidden behind his back. After a brief pause, he brought up the missing hand and presented a bouquet of wild fall flowers. He gently removed the gold beret that held my hair, then guided the long black strands across my shoulders, and silently he began picking out white frost daisies from the multicolored bouquet and delicately placed them in my hair. Lucy, you know what marriage is? It's when two people give themselves to each other and promise to love one another forever. No matter what happens, no matter who tries to stop them, they'll love each other forever. I'll never know that feeling. I thought to myself, I'll never be able to marry you. I can't. He was still worried about my family, and that's why he said what he did. It was ironic that his attempt to convince me to stick by him made him express the exact strength that he would need if he wanted me. He gently touched my face with his fingers and then opened his hands and pressed them to my cheeks, moving back to my ears. I could hear his heart pounding through the palms. Let's be together forever, he said. With you at my side, I can do anything, Lucy. Honey, will you marry me? I was petrified. It was the best moment of my life and the worst. The inevitable explosion of contrasting emotions nearly ignited, and I thought of a frightened child who once stood next to a stranger and was forced to say, I do. Did that forever chain me to a horrible man who treated me like a caged animal? Did it really count? It couldn't. It wasn't marriage in any form marriage was intended to be. In the eyes of God, I love you and will marry you, I said. You'll be mine forever. No matter what comes between us, I'll always love you. It was a strange, revealing acceptance, but Elvis let it pass. I accepted you as my wife, he said formally, as if a church full of people were listening. I'll love you and only you, no matter what happens. I'll love you forever. The wind picked up and began blowing the flowers out of my hair. They fell upon my shoulders and rolled down my back and landed in a ring around my feet. I can't have a bride without flowers in her hair, Elvis said, reaching for a bouquet I still held at my side. He picked out a small purple lavender veronians and set them in a new wreath around my head. I dropped what remained of the bouquet and slipped my hand under Elvis's shirt. I needed to feel the warmth of his body. Darling, close your eyes, he said. Now open them. Elvis was holding a single red rose. I had no idea where it had come from, but it was crumbled and wilted like the one that he gave me in the restaurant. That didn't matter. It was still beautiful. I sighed deeply when he presented it, and that pleased him, and that pleased him. The rose contains all the love we've promised, he said. It stands for the love I'll have for you forever, whatever happens and wherever you are. When you see a rose, let it remind you of me. We knelt together on the blanket. Elvis appeared unsure of himself. Obviously, you can hear in the background, guys, just so you know, we've got a very severe storm here in the UK. So in the background, you can hear the sirens. It's really going on. I can't, in this house where I am now, in the kitchen, it all feels nice and cozy. But outside there, guys, there's a torrential storm happening. Okay, so we've just got, I'll just read this last page, then we'll have a little chat, guys. Yeah, Linda, I feel fine. It's just, I don't recommend anyone goes out in this. You know, all around me is trees. So my garden's only small, but it's surrounded by trees. So yeah, we will see, guys. What's wrong, I asked. May I have you for my very own? I'll never forget the way he looked at me with eyes so gentle and loving. The time had come to offer myself freely to a man. I loved a man I had chosen. I answered him with the first passionate kiss I had ever given. My sudden forwardness frightened me for an instant. I backed away. Don't be afraid, Elvis whispered. I won't let anything bad happen. I won't never let anything bad happen to you. We lay down facing each other with our bodies together. Slowly, Elvis began caressing each part of my body. He playfully nibbled my lips as he stroked my face, neck, and breasts. With his hands under the bright stars of the cool Memphis night, we consummated our love. It was more than just making love. Elvis's body washed away all the shame and dirtiness I had known before. He elevated me from a degraded child to a woman who knew the ecstasy of submission. Our love is written on the wind in heaven. Elvis said, as we lay on our backs, looking up to the stars, do you believe this? I believed. The night grew chilly. We abandoned our plan to camp out and gathered our things. We reluctantly walked back to the car. Neither of us wanted the moment to end. We stood at the car and embraced, glancing up at the dark outline of the hill. Our vows of marriage had been unofficially, but had a lasting effect. Had been unofficial, but had a lasting effect. Our love would carry us over the tremendous obstacles of the next 24 years. Okay, chapter 4 is done. So I've read that for Nancy. So Nancy, when you watch this, this is a thank you for you defending me the way you did against the trolls, the bullies, the stalkers. Nancy, thank you so much. Yeah, I really appreciate it. So, guys, I want to be straight with you. Yeah, and I'm not trying to be Nancy. Please don't be offended. Yeah, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. I just see a story. A nice story, a well-written story. I can see that Dari is great at writing, yeah. But for me at the moment, that's all it is a story. And at the moment, I'm still a no. At the moment, I'm still a no. So of course, we're only on chapter 4. So Nancy, I will take your advice. Read more of the book. before I start fully making my mind up. So I will sit on the fence and try and listen to Nancy's advice and keep reading the book. Now, I am also watching Joe Sins on Rare Elvis Photos, so I'm trying to get more knowledge. I listened to his interviews with Desiree. Desiree has been in touch with us as well. I also listened to what Joe Sins had to say about Desiree. Yeah. And there's been a few interviews with Desiree Matera, and then we've had Kathy helping me as well, which is she's very busy at the moment because she runs an entertainment business. She's got a lot of gigs, so she hasn't been able to join us. So can I just say to you guys, what do you think? What do you think it's true or not? What can you give me your views? Yeah, and Angel Eyes, I agree with that comment. Angel, I agree with that comment. We can, you know, a good writer can create a beautiful story about Elvis, can't they? You have a good point, Kathy. So, right, Kathy, I didn't know you were here. Have you been here long? So this is Kathy, guys. Kathy has been very, very good to me. She's really helped me to talk about this book. Now, obviously, she's very good friends with Desiree Matera, and she's friends with Desiree, and she has been helping Joe with his shows. So, all right, Kathy. So what I did, Kathy. So can we all welcome Kathy because she's here to help. Now, Kathy has made it clear to me that she doesn't want to sway our opinions. She wants us to listen and decide for ourselves. If you decide to believe it, she respects that. If you decide not to believe it, she respects that. If you decide to just sit on the fence and not take a view, or if you just think it's a load of rubbish, it's fine. So does anyone want to ask Kathy any questions? Now, Kathy, do you mind if anyone here asks you questions? So there's only 17 of us watching at the moment. So I understand if we don't ask that many questions because there's not many of us here. So I'm just going to warm up my coffee. So guys, if anyone has a question, I know there's not many of us here, but can you just ask her? And I think, yeah, thank you, Kathy. And Dari has messaged me a few times. He's always been kind to me. Yeah, I know that he's quite protective and defensive. He doesn't like people saying that the book's a pack of lies because I believe, Kathy, I believe that Dari does believe this book. Yeah, I honestly do. I believe that Dari does believe this book. Yeah, so I won't accuse him of anything. I think he genuinely believes this book. Seriously, I also think that Lucy. This is just my opinion so far. Yeah, I also believe that Desiree does believe that she is Elvis's child. I believe that. This is the bit I'm getting. That Desiree believes that she is Elvis's child. Dari believes that this book is true. Yeah. Now the bit I'm unsure about is Lucy's part in it all. Is Lucy's part in it? Yeah. Who could be, you know, the possibility of who is the real father of Desiree? That for me, that is the grey area. Now, what I'm noticing from people is they're saying, "Oh, I believe the romance, I believe the relationship between Elvis and Lucy, but they don't believe that she is Elvis's child." That is really what I'm getting. Yeah. So I'm just going to warm my coffee up while you guys speak to Kathy, and then I'll come back. going to try and... Okay, right. So we've got a little bit longer. I'm going to come back and read the first chapter of this book that Elizabeth sent me a bit later. So I'm not sure exactly what time, but that is my plan. I want to do, what I probably will do is do a review of the book first. Just check it out, read the front and the back, read the introduction, and then the introduction is very long, yeah? So we'll read the introduction first before we start reading the chapters, okay? But this will be later on. Elizabeth, thank you for sending me this book. Very kind. Anyone that sends me a book, it's very kind of you. Thank you so much. Right, let's check the comments out. That's nice of you, Linda, to say that to Kathy. Derry can be quite brash and come across angry, but he is very passionate about defending Lucy and Desiree. Kathy, I've picked up on that. Yeah, this is what I think about Desiree. I mean, sorry, Derry. He 100% believes the book. 100% he believes that it happened. 100%. I really believe that. Yeah. So he does take offense when people don't believe the book. He takes offense because he thinks they're calling him a fraud or a liar. So he then becomes defensive and protective. And so I think anyone, if you call them a fraud or a liar, are going to get angry and passionate. But I think when Derry is replying to comments from people on YouTube or Facebook, I think there's a calmer way to try and get his points across, a calmer way than just like getting so upset and uptight and angry. I think there's a better way that Derry can deal with it. That's all. But I do understand why he becomes defensive and protective. I do understand. He's been very nice to me. Derry's been very nice to me. Oh no, I definitely see your point, Angel Eyes, 100%. So I just watched Joe, and he actually had a conversation with Desiree. Yes, Kathy, I watched it last night. I woke up. Well, the wind woke me because in England there's a storm, and I watched Joe's show, and I can tell he's quite excited about his conversation. It lasted over 2 hours. There's many things that he's not allowed to talk about because every time he asked her a question, Desiree, he did say, can I tell people this? Can I tell people that? So he didn't tell us everything. I think there's going to be a part 2 because he named his show part 1. So I'm pretty sure that the Desiree conversation, there's more news to come from Joe. Of course, Rare Elvis Photos is amazing. Everyone go over and subscribe to him. I highly recommend that you listen to Joe's reading of the book, Are You Lonesome Tonight? Because he's doing a much better job than me. Yeah, I'm just sort of brushing over it. Joe is properly analysing each chapter with interviews with Derry, the author, and obviously now Desiree. So you're going to get a much better feel for the book listening to Joe. So I highly recommend Joe. And with Kathy's help, Kathy has really helped Joe. Kathy introduced Joe to Derry, Matira, and now to Desiree. So I think Joe reached out to Desiree. So I think it does seem like Desiree is a bit nervous to talk about it. I am getting that feeling. So let's have a look. Right. So do you believe they dated? Don't believe she had a secret child. My opinion. Sorry, anyone who gets offended. And I'm leaning towards Linda. There's a possibility of dating. I'm not convinced about the child yet, but let's just keep reading the book and we'll see. I truly think Desiree believes Lucy, but he also believes Elvis knocked his Kool-Aid over. I don't understand that. Let me read that again. I think Desiree believes Lucy, but he also believes Elvis knocked his Kool-Aid over. I don't understand that. I don't get that. Sorry. Am I missing something? Let's have a look. So Angel Eyes says she'll only believe it if there's proof. This is the problem, isn't it, with this whole thing? There's a real serious lacking of proof. There is. So Elvis and Lisa Marie says, is that Kate? For what I've heard you say, I'm not feeling it either, to be honest, which is how I feel at the moment. So Jean says, why did she take a DNA test? I'm not sure here because I don't think did she take. I don't think she did. Was that comment supposed to say why didn't she take a DNA test? Let's have a look. Yeah, that wind, Angel Eyes. That wind is crazy. In England. Let's have a look. Hi, Kathy. I'm Tony. Hi, Tony. You all right, my friend? Would love to know more. I've been following this since the 80s. Did they ever do a DNA test? With all and only respect, just wondering, only love and light. I think that's a good question. Yeah, we're very grateful that Kathy has joined us. Hi, Tony. Elvis Presley Enterprises blocked the DNA testing. So many were coming forward and claiming they were Elvis's daughter or son. So they ended up refusing DNA testing. Okay. But I still don't see how that gives us any proof. This is the problem. We're all looking for proof, aren't we? Isn't that really the key thing here? So Ayisa, Elvis' son, Elvis Presley Jr., said he got proof. Okay. So Angel Eyes is saying anyone can make up a story, which is true. Yeah, that Josie, we've heard it many times about the DNA test being refused by Graceland, but I still don't. It doesn't prove nothing, does it? It just doesn't. Let me just get some more hot water in my coffee. I just still don't see how that really proves anything. Okay, let's keep looking. Everyone has an opinion, that's fine. Sometimes we try and look at things too deeply instead of just looking at things with basic common sense. That's Dan 27 EP. It's very true. Louis, in a live with Joe Derry, said that his Kool-Aid fell over and it was Elvis. Oh, right. Yeah. No, I think I did see a clip of that. I did see that clip. Yeah. I know what you're saying. Right. Let's keep coming. Let's ask Kathy some more questions. Yeah. So I didn't finish my thought. Common sense question. No pics with Elvis. No one close to Elvis said this about her. No DNA. You're right, Dan. You're right. Yeah. We don't have enough proof. Yes, proof. We need proof. Kathy was blood tested, and what kind of test? Yeah, and we've heard about the blood test. She talks about it in the interview, doesn't she? On the Donahue show. But even that, it's not good enough, is it? Yeah, guys, anyone in the UK, I send you love because we are having horrific weather. A real bad gale force winds. I'm surprised no trees have fallen down, to be honest with you. Even the fencing, I'm surprised the fencing has stayed up. So just so you know, guys, the time in the UK is still very early. It's only 10:20 a.m. I have seen over the years at least 10 people on YouTube who have said Elvis is their father. They all sounded confident. Sorry, my money is on them not being Elvis. So Kathy says the blood tests were taken to determine blood type. Linda, it was found that she is the same blood type as Elvis. And I saw this on the Donahue show, but do we actually have any proof of that, though? I know it was said on the Donahue show. Are there any documents that show it? Now, one of the people we had on here was trying to say that that Desiree was, I'm trying to remember now, was 7 years older than her birth certificate. So we found her birth certificate. Obviously, the birth certificate has been brought up a few times. There's a copy of it in here. Now, my memory is that. I'm pretty sure that she was born. Let's just have a look. Let me find the birth certificate. I'm pretty sure she was. Was it 19? Here we go. So someone mentioned the birth certificate on here. It looks like it could be August the 26th, 1957. Now, somebody messaged me on here saying that she was born in 1965, and that proved the story wrong. But then I said to them, well, no, because the birth certificate clearly shows that she was born. It looks to me here like August. Well, this says date of signature. So does it give the actual date of birth? Date of birth, August 24th, 1958. So we do have a picture of the birth certificate here. So the person that came forward and was saying that she was born in 1965, going by this certificate, you're wrong about that. You're wrong about. I know you're probably watching. So I'm just saying this is the birth certificate that was in the book. Yeah. Hi, Chanel Faloka. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Helen. Hi, Lorna. So obviously we don't have that many people here. It's a funny time because a lot of you are asleep in America. It's like for you guys in America, it's the middle of the night, isn't it? Yeah. So we have some Australians, some of the British people, but generally at this time, it's not a great time. I wish there was more people on here so we could ask more questions. I think what I'll do, I'll play a bit of the Donahue, or I'll find a video of Desiree and Lucy. I'll just play a bit of it. We'll see, we'll get a feel for it and see if we get a few more people to join us. So let's see if I can find one that I haven't watched before. I want it to last more than. Right, here we are.
Tonight will be a huge bestseller, but is the book a factual account of a secret love affair between Lucy DeBarman and Elvis Presley?
Right, here we go, guys.
Fantasy. Everybody is predicting that Are You Lonesome Tonight will be a huge bestseller, but is the book a factual account of a secret love affair between Lucy DeBarman and Elvis Presley, or the product of fantasy and falsehood? All this week, Entertainment Tonight special correspondent Geraldo Rivera has been investigating the book, asking for tangible evidence that Lucy DeBarman did indeed have a love affair with Elvis and gave birth to his daughter. Tonight, Geraldo puts the alleged evidence into focus.
How good is your memory? Think about it for a second. Can you remember conversations you had a week ago? How about last year? 10 years ago? 20? Can you remember every word spoken and replied 35 years ago? I know I can. I'm a pretty average person. And yet this book is made up largely of supposed conversations between Elvis and Lucy DeBarvin. Conversations that allegedly began way back in 1953. Listen to this one. I'll have a house like this one day, he said. It'll take a lot of work. My plan is to make a record. A person can get rich if they make a good record. What do you think? I think you can do it. Just don't give up. You have to be different to be noticed. I try to be that way when I dance, but I get scared sometimes. Yeah, I know, he said. You never know if the people are going to like you or not. You can sing the same song the same way, and one crowd loves it, and the next doesn't. This conversation goes on for 4.5 more pages. Both Random House, the publisher, and Desiree, the ex-National Enquirer reporter who co-wrote this book, claim that hard evidence exists to prove the intimate relationship between Lucy and Elvis, the relationship that led to the love child Elvis never knew.
Lucy has some things.
Could you tell us what they are?
I'm under contract not to mention these things, and the reason and that is up to her, and I made that promise to her, and you'll have to ask her.
I did, many times during our meeting last Friday in New York. It was like trying to pull teeth. Here's some of the so-called proof. This cross. She says Elvis gave it to her, but admits she can't prove that. She says she kept handwritten diaries, but she won't let any outsider independently verify or even look at them. She claims to have a poem handwritten by Elvis, but will not let us independently verify the handwriting. And perhaps the biggest bombshell. Audio tapes are said to exist of deeply personal conversations between Lucy and Elvis. Lucy's provided her publisher with a written transcript of those tapes, but she won't let anybody actually listen to them or verify the voices, even assuming the tapes really exist. We got into this story with no preconceived notions, convinced, in fact, that it would be a bigger story if this lady was telling the truth. But we've been shown nothing to rebut a growing suspicion that an active imagination or two have created a fanciful fantasy. And in any case, if and when the writers and publisher offer real evidence to support their hot and heavy claims, you'll be among the first to know, because we're staying with this story.
Right, let me just... right.
Why has the story not come out before?
I never intended it for...
Right, so I'll play a bit of this as well. This is a radio interview, but I just want to read a couple of your comments, guys. So there's a few of you joining on now. So remember, Kathy's here. So if you want to ask any questions about the book, we've just read chapter 4 of this book. I want you guys to make up your own mind. Yeah, I want you guys to listen to the facts, ask some questions, and come up with your own opinions. I don't want to sway you either way, but I do want people to know where I am with the book. At the moment, I don't believe it. At the moment, I'm on chapter 4. We've just read chapter 4, but I am open to read the whole book and relook at it. Okay. Right. So we've got Dan 27. In my opinions, especially in 1958, Elvis didn't go anywhere on his own without his guys near, especially in the height of his career. One of them would have remembered her. It's a good comment. Thanks. The same with Priscilla. She also remembers every conversation from decades ago, all a bit suspect. Yeah, I must say that the book is very detailed, and I know that they refer to the diary on why the detail is so good, but I think it's too detailed. I personally, when I'm reading it, I really feel like it's too detailed. That's just my feeling, guys. Remember, you guys must decide. In the 1960s, HLA blood tests became available, which could prove paternity, genetic makeup, but you need an Elvis sample. Thank you. Let's keep going. Hi, Sue. Chasing after the grandkids. In regards to this interview, can you remember the conversation 30 years ago? As Desiree has said, Lucy's conversations were analysed by psychologists who were named in the book and their findings. Good comment. Hi, Nancy. Nancy, I'm doing today's show is for you as a thank you for defending me against the bullies, the trolls, the crazy people. Yeah. the stalkers. So Nancy, this show is for you. Yeah, I really thank you for defending me. Thank you so much. Yeah. Let's have a go. I did try and message you, Nancy. I'm not sure if you got it. Well, Gerardo actually did see the poem and had it analysed and apologised. He was wrong, but the rest she wouldn't show. Desiree still has it. So, yeah, so Desiree still has the poem. And I think Joe mentioned this last night. Didn't he mention it, that there was a rumour that it was up for auction, but Desiree said, well, it can't be because I've still got it. Yeah, is that right? Well, if you only ever had one love ever in your life, this is Kathy, that you didn't see at all, that often you do remember every word, as you have no idea where or if you are going to see him or her again. Right, so Kathy, I do understand that point. Of course you do, yeah? But this isn't just like a few sentences. This is very, very detailed for pages and pages, yeah? So anyway, let's still keep listening. Kathy Pitts, the audio tapes are with Desiree. I don't know about this. Are you saying there's audio tapes? I don't know about this. Thank you, Dan. So Linda, yeah, she's saying it's too detailed. Hi, Kate. You're okay, Kate? Thank you for joining us. I did get your message on YouTube. Memphis Mafia, Linda, speak details of their books about statements years ago. So who knows? Vesta and Vernon and Charlie Hodge did remember Elvis. Elvis, remember her name. So Nancy, hi. Thank you for defending. Yes, Nancy, you rock. She doesn't mince her words. Nancy says it how it is. I love the way, Nancy, I love the way you stood up to the bully. I love the way you stood up to the crazy person. It made me feel good because that's exactly what she deserved. I'm just right. So yes, she has the poem and she got something that broke my heart. Lucy wrote a letter in hospital, which she's given birth. If she dies, please contact Elvis. She's got a lot more than that. Thank you, Nancy. I'm just asking to those who believe, if you can tell me what sways you. Now that, Sue, great question. Guys, Sue said, if you believe it, tell us why. I think who has the audio tapes will be in Joe's part 2. Okay, we'll look forward to that. Don't forget, it's not just who's got them. We want proof of them. Yeah, we're always pushing for proof here. Yeah. Elvis didn't have the big entourage in the late 50s. The guys grew later. Well, I think around, I don't agree with that. I think Elvis had a lot of people around him from 56 onwards. Honestly. So I don't agree with that comment. Linda, if I say that with respect, Linda, yeah. You're welcome. Sometimes my mouth gets me in trouble. I know, Nancy. Nancy, I know how cheeky you can be, yeah. But the way you worded that comment to the stalker, yeah, was spot on. So I really, it means a lot to me. You really touched my heart because you meant that message, didn't you? You meant it. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. Anyone that supports me through this weird stalking period, I really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. These people just need help. Right. So he did have enough. No, I haven't. Right. Let me play this. I want to play this because it does sound like it's going to be interesting. Now, remember, guys, I want you guys to make up your own mind. Yeah.
To come out at all, Bill, but because of circumstances and things that happened within the last 5-6 years, I decided that this was a time to do it because I was sort of I don't want to say forced into it, but I was pursued. Desiree was pursued very, very strongly. And also, I felt like I owed it to Desiree. I had to tell her the story that she never did know behind her father and my relationship. And I wanted her to know it in details. And it was so difficult to even tell Elvis. That I couldn't tell her, surely, unless I put the details, because it was very hurtful and still is to talk about certain events and things that happened and why we had to do it. So I had to put it on paper in details so she could see the dark side, I call it, of my life and the circumstances and why I made the decisions I did, and to see a beautiful side of her father, which I didn't think everybody knew about. And I did want them to know that. And I wanted her in particular to know about it.
It's unfair of me to ask in just a few minutes that we have to describe the kinds of feelings that you had, because you'll never be able to have enough time to describe them fully.
I know. Do you mean from the beginning, Bill?
Feel free to pick it up at any point along the way.
I think that Elvis was probably one of the greatest inspirations in my life. Not because he was Elvis Presley, because when I first heard his name, I thought it was an odd name, but because he was the man, if I would dream up a person to fall in love with, would have been that type of person, because he had all the attributes that I would want in a person. The humanity, the gentleness, the love, the consideration for other people, the reason why he wanted to be successful or make his life successful was for others. All this made me fall in love with him long ago. And because of circumstances, and I know it has to be brief, we went on to fall in love very deeply. And there was always something between it. Needless to say, my circumstances in past. And then in later years, we had a separation for 10 years because of my circumstances again and his. And I felt like I had to make the decision. Then went on to, he kept looking for me and found me, and we got back together on a basis of we had to explain to one another because we felt like we still love one another, but we were honorable to our commitments for a time. And then we made decisions that we had to live with the consequences, and knew what our limitations were and what we could or couldn't do because of circumstances and because of my children, my family, that I couldn't let the whole world attack them or his career. And we were building lives, both of us, although Elvis always wanted to come out with our relationship in public. He honored my wishes, and I loved him more for that.
Desiree, this unfolded how for you?
Well, when I first found out who my father was when I was 17. And then at 19, I sent off my birth certificate and started using the name Presley. And I didn't know any of the facts. And it was a very hard decision for me to go to Mother and get her to tell me, because I knew it was very painful for her. And she had actually never told me that Elvis was my father yet. She actually didn't tell me till 1982. And at this point, I was going by the name Presley, and everyone that I encountered always asked me, "Are you related to Elvis?" And I would say yes, but I was very uncomfortable because I didn't know the facts surrounding it. And, it's very, it's a big thing to say, I'm Elvis Presley's father, and you don't know how, you know what I'm saying? So finally, this Jerry Matera, the co-author, he approached me. He got a tip from someone that I was Elvis's daughter, and followed me for about a year, wrote letters. And so finally I agreed to meet him and ask him what he intended to do with the story. And he asked me so many questions. I said, I don't know. I didn't have any answers for him. So finally I gave him Mother's number and had him call Mother. And I was so afraid. I thought Mother was going to kill me. And it ended up, she agreed to meet him, and she liked him very much. I agreed to meet him, Bill, because I thought, I'm going to get him off of her back. How dare him enter into our lives and try to expose. It was hurtful. And I knew that, of course, still protecting her and knowing who she was and how important Elvis was to the world, that they would try to exploit her like they did him. And no, they couldn't know because I had to tell her. But it was hard for me to tell her. until 1982, when something pushed me into telling Desiree, because she came right out, and that was the most assertiveness she has ever shown in her life. You can tell Bill about how I told you if you'd like. I was invited to, we were living in LA at the time, and I was invited to a party that it was my lawyer's party, and there was a lot of Hollywood people there. And Mother said, please don't go. And I said, well, why? She says, just please don't go. I don't want you exploited.
Right, one second, guys.
Just because of your father. I said, who was?
I'm going to play all of that. I just wanted to read a couple of things. So I can see that Nancy doesn't really think they would have ever got married. Karen, if Lucy and husband don't have Desire's blood type, that could support the argument. Not prove above DNA testing. Yeah. Where are we? So Gio, hi Gio. So Desiree once by chance met Lisa Marie with Danny Keogh in a store, and Lisa Marie immediately recognized her. Oh my God, that woman who claims to be Elvis' daughter. And she spoke, yes. And Gio, I've read about this, yeah, but is it true? This is the problem. I've read that. Is it true? Because what I hear is there's lots of little stories to back up that it's true. Yeah, loads. This is why we want Nancy to tell us. Nancy, please give us as much information as you can. But the problem is what we're hearing is stories. It is stories. I feel that the Elvis fans want proof. They're begging for proof. And I think this is always where it all falls down.
My father. Because I wanted to hear my mother say it. She said, tell me. And she said, Elvis Presley. And I said, I know. She says, no, but you don't know the whole story. And it's a beautiful story, and I'll tell you someday. But even then, it was very painful for her, to come out and tell me, because it wasn't just one time that they were together. It was a love story, many years. I didn't want Desiree to think that, I met Elvis, we had an affair, and he left, and that was it. I wanted her to know there was not easy times. Our relationship was something that was apparently had to be the way it was. I'm a firm believer that whatever case it is, whatever will be, will be. And we weren't meant to be together always, but as much as we could. But I wanted her to know that she was born out of great love. But there was details, but it's hard to tell a young girl, now look, this was special. Sure, everything's special. She wanted me to tell her. And I never could tell her. I said, you have to know the whole story, because there were bad times for us. There were hard times. And I wanted her to understand why we had to be separated, why I wasn't with him, why that we didn't get married, things like that. And I couldn't do it, Bill, just sitting down and telling her. I couldn't do it today if I had to just tell her everything, and she knows that. I went so far as after meeting Derry Matera, I thought I have to go through this, and he will not be the right one. And no, I won't write this book. This is all in my mind, confirmed. I will not write anything, and he will not get a story. I will tell him to back away and leave my daughter alone. But he was very nice. And I'm not naive to where I just can swallow everything like that. But he respected me and left me alone for a while. And he said, promise me you will just try to think about it. And I did. I said no to myself. And then I started thinking, I owe this to Desiree. And I spoke to Uncle Vester about it, even, who I love very much. And he was very close to Elvis. And he said, well, you owe it to her. You better think about what it'll do to her. And, but if you have something good, and you...
Well, I want to read some of these comments, because I think they're important. Obviously, now please, guys, Kathy and Nancy are here. And I think Nancy wants to help us understand the book, yeah? I know that Nancy, the book means a lot to her personally. So Nancy has shared some very personal things with me. Nancy, I thank you for trusting me like that. I don't know, Louis, we gather data like squirrels and can decide later what we think. I think that's great advice, Gio. Thank you. I know Lucy knew, right, Nancy, I know Lucy knew about Priscilla. Elvis told her, and it happened in 1973 that Priscilla was pursuing for more money, which she She definitely was, because she's a very greedy person, but that's a whole different live stream. Karen, we all send you love. Let's all give Karen a group hug. Karen, I hope you're feeling better. I hope you're feeling better. We've missed you. We've missed you here. I'm so glad that you're here, and I hope you're recovering quickly. So Nancy, in not 1976, it took 3 years to go through the court. That was a big hush hush. So I've asked Kathy to just say some points that can make us understand why the book may be true. So Kathy, I really do want, if you don't mind, I really appreciate Nancy and Kathy just giving us, you know, just some info. Yeah. Louis, main points: they have never asked for money. Times, dates, events match up. Elvis was exactly where Lucy said he was at the time. Yeah, poor Karen. We're all sending you love, Karen. Yeah, Pamela, we've missed you. We've missed you, Pamela. Where have you been? So I'm so glad you're here. Thank you. In the 1950s and 60s, it would have been scandalous for a woman to admit children from different fathers. I can see her staying quiet. I'm not saying it's true or false. Yeah, Linda, I agree with that. I agree. In the 50s, 60s, even 70s, I would say even 80s, a child out of wedlock was like pretty shocking, wasn't it? Pretty shocking. Yeah. And massively in the 50s, massively. Yeah. Different times, guys, different times. But what am I? No, but what I'm bringing that up about 73, Louis, that was a hush hush. We're out hearing about that now. Right, okay, so you're saying, Nancy, are you saying that no one knew? The second divorce settlement, no one knew, which I agree with, by the way. For some reason, Priscilla's got away with this second divorce settlement, and it's only been recently that it's all been exposed. So you're saying, Nancy, that it's in the book, in the book Are You Lonesome Tonight, which shows there's some truth. I definitely understand that point. The truth is, what you're saying is that the only way that Lucy could have known and Desiree could have known about the second divorce settlement, Priscilla trying to get more money in 73, is if it's true. Yeah, I get that. All right, so Pamela has a father in hospital as well. I'll be out now. Father-in-law, not. Oh, we all send you healing energy, Pamela, and we're going to pray for you. We will all pray for you. Many of us are Christians here, and we will pray for you, Pamela. Lucy didn't have children out of wedlock. She was married. Pamela, group hug definitely for Pamela. Yeah, we all send Karen love. So Nancy, so Dan, if there were pictures of his hands, Lucy could have seen those pictures as well as for Elvis and movements and what was going on. Right, right, let me just put this on. Yeah, you can show me 1 second. Oh, let me just press it.
You guys so good with Elvis. Why don't you tell it? So, I mean, and then Ronald Tonette, who's a good friend of ours, said, why are you not telling it? And I said, because I didn't have people taking pictures of us together. It was secret. I wanted to remain a secret. And he said, why? You have to tell. Because Desiree needs to know. She needs to know. So I made a set of tapes and told as much of the story. And it took me 4 years to do this. And telling her in details and completely devastating me because I had to open doors I had closed long ago because I didn't want to think about it except for the nice parts of it. And I did in case something would happen to me that she would never get the story. And I told Desiree to put him in a vault, which she did. Then started writing notes and writing pads, and then working with Desiree night after night after night after night, and then finally saying, I'm not going through with this. I don't want the world to know about this. It can't be. And, it was very difficult for me. I'm not trying to be noble, but it was very hurtful to tell things that I didn't want anyone to know. But if she knew, she would have to be defending herself. Yes, I am. And so why not tell the world? And why am I not being, I don't mean myself, but why is it so hard for the public? I don't mean the public exactly, but the people that has had controversy about this to accept something that could be good about Elvis when they have accepted all the bad things written about him. It baffles me. But again,
it happens so with every famous person, be it Elvis or Frank Sinatra, who you name it. People come out of the woodwork and say, "Well, yes, we had an affair back then, and this is Frank Sinatra's daughter." Mm-hmm. And you've, I'm sure, had that.
Sure.
And people, the backlash. I've read some stories on the wire already that there are people who are challenging all the claims that are in the book. And Villard is standing behind you, to their credit.
Right.
Is this difficult for you? What we're doing right now? Do you enjoy going on tour, talking about it?
I don't enjoy any publicity. First of all, I have to be honest, because I'm a business person. If it's business, I love it. It's fine, in my life. But when it's centered on my personal life and publicity, I don't like it. I don't like pictures of myself. I don't like. And it's very difficult to talk about this because I do not. But no, and I don't mind it, Bill, because I know it has to be done, and I certainly owe it to the publishers and to Desiree and to Elvis, and I know that.
I think it would be hard for any of us to go public in such a massive scale.
I know.
And expose the details that all of us would just logically want to keep.
That's right.
Regardless of who it was that we'd been in love with.
And Elvis, I didn't even want to use his name, nor did I want to use. I wish I could have used John Jones, which is, what he always went by when he called me and things. But and he always was disguised in that, and he always respected and honored me for wanting to be secret. But because even if he wanted it to be different, he did respect that.
Desiree, I'm wondering, has your mother's fear materialized? Have you been exploited?
No, I haven't had too much of it yet. We've been on the tour. I've been quite busy on the tour, and it's been very positive. People's reaction has been very good.
You're able to lead a normal life. People don't hound you. The National Enquirer isn't hiding behind your bushes or something.
There's been a few hiding behind the bushes, but they've been fairly kind as well.
It occurred to me that if Derry Matera had worked for the National Enquirer, instead of being the reputable journalist that he apparently is, this could have ended up completely different.
Oh, believe me, I thought about that too, and I told him in a very nice way to back away and stay away, and then he proved himself, because that's what I feel about every human being. You can't really judge them, and his credibility came through, because I know that he's had a difficult time writing this with me, because I didn't want to give him all the facts, the dark side, my early age. I fought like crazy to keep that out.
Were you I don't mean to interrupt, but were you surprised by some of the parts that he wrote here, where he commented on your perception, and then he said, "Well, this is what I really found out"? I found that particularly striking.
I hated him when he did all that research. I have argued so many nights with him on the phone. How dare you bother my friends or people I knew? How dare you do this? And then I understood, though, because he had to do this. Even when he found out I was younger, because I tried to go by an older age all my life, I did. And I hated him for that. And then I realized, he said it has to be done that way, and he finally convinced me. Every little thing was a little bit chipping away, like the poem. No, you're not getting this poem. It's mine. It was not to be seen by anyone else. And finally, after 6 months, I gave, and I thought, and I prayed about it too, and spoke to Desiree and the family about it. And they said, "Well, it's beautiful. Why don't you let them print it?" So we decided to do it. I finally decided to do it. And then the publisher and Derry contacted Graceland. I don't know why. It was unbeknownst to me. I would not have contacted him personally, because I don't think anyone should own anything about everyone in the world, their voice, their likeness, a letter that was written to me and given to me by Elvis. That's bad, I think. They refused to let us print it, and that hurt me more after being convinced to let the publisher print it. So I'm very hurt about that, but it is explained in the book, Are You Lonesome Tonight, that they refused. And maybe at one point very soon, we will show it to the world, because I would like for them to see it now. How dare them say that it doesn't exist when they refuse to let us do it?
I was curious about one thing. I know we're running out of time, but Desiree, you and I are maybe just a half a generation too young to have been in Elvis's prime. And we probably started growing up on the kind of music that immediately followed his peak of popularity. Did you listen to Elvis records when you were growing up? Did you enjoy his music?
I was never into the rock and roll Elvis. I loved his ballads. I studied piano for many years and played a lot of it on the piano. And I did enjoy hearing Impossible Dream, Love Me Too. All the slower ballad type music. I love that.
Do you like his movies?
Some of them, a lot of them are very silly, but and he hated doing it. He really did, because it portrayed him in something. He wasn't Elvis. He wasn't Elvis in the movie. He was not the Elvis, the man that I knew. And he wanted to portray that kind of person he was so badly. I spoke to Desiree and everyone that loved him, and still do, about that. And he really planned on doing something about that and getting into more serious vein.
Okay, guys. Right, so that's it, guys. I'm going to go now, but we're going to probably come back to a part 2. I've got to rush off, but Nancy, remember, I really am grateful to you for standing up for me against the stalkers. Kathy, thank you for joining us, helping us answer questions. I really appreciate it, guys. We've all come together this morning. No. So, guys, you've been great. I'll see you later. I'll be back for more.
Yeah, you're going to football.